Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Chuck Graham Show. We're going to talk a little bit about what Tucker Carlson was talking about last night, and it was got to do with slavery and blacks being appointed to the Supreme Court justice. You know, I am absolutely disgusted with this country anymore. I am. I'm as flawed as Martin Luther King was, and trust me, he was flawed. If you do adequate research on him, he was a flawed person, just like all of us are. But the point being is this: it doesn't dumb down his message to the fact that he was right, that everybody should be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. But apparently, we've done an about face on this shit, and it's absolutely disgusting. That you would even, and I'm sick of it. I'm tired of the first black person or the first black this or the first black that. Who gives a shit? If you're black, how about this? How about take some of those intelligent women that was on Tucker Carlson last night that they're putting up on CNN as the candidates for the justices of the Supreme Court? How about their record? How about that they were a good judge, or they were a damn good attorney, or they did really good things in their communities? Who cares if they're black? That's the problem. We've gotten so far in this country that we've had a black president, or at least he was half black. We've got a black woman vice president, but we're still talking about this shit. But let me run it down for you. I'm just going to be really clear about history here. When people talk about reparations, there was 180 black slave owners that were black in South Carolina in 1860. One of the wealthiest women were black, had 14 slaves. And to look it up here, and if you look at it, the question is whether or not, historically, the question has always been, did the black slaves owners buy the black slaves because they were trying to protect them? Well, probably both is true. Or did they do it, let's just say this, or did they do it because they were exploiting the black slaves? I would say probably both is true. And that's where it seems to be splitting the line here. But it's same true with white slave owners. Not all of them were wretched. And if you get down to the real just wretched guy, his name was William Ellison. He was fucking awful. There is reports of him doing shit that the white slave owners didn't do to his slaves. So my point is this: when you talk about reparations and you talk about that, I've been oppressed. Okay, who was you oppressed by? Who was your family oppressed by? If there was 180 black slave owners that were black in 1860 in South Carolina, well, then tell me this. They've had black slave owners that had black slaves all the way from if I'm reading this correctly, 1654 continuing right up through the Civil War. Okay, so you've had black slave owners that's owned damn slaves. You've had Indians that own slaves. It's not just, but we're the only country that I can find, and I've done a ton of research. We are the only country that associates race with slavery. Slavery's bad, but it's going on right now, today, in other countries. But we were one of the first to abolish it. And let me just say this: we didn't go over and kidnap black people. We wouldn't have never been able to do that. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying that for the majority of it, they were bought and sold. Because those tribes were just not only they would have killed the hell out of those Europeans if they'd have tried to do that. But what those tribes were doing were selling other tribal members from opposing tribes that they had captured in their civil wars and conflicts that's been going on forever. The point being is this, folks. I'm sick and tired every time I turn on the damn news. It's somebody's talking about black people are oppressed. And the one that was talking about it on CNN today graduated from Princeton. If that's oppression, somewhere along the line in my family, my white privilege got lost. I don't get it. Grew up in a wealthy family, and every one of them that they're talking about either went to Harvard or Princeton, or I think that's a damn success story, like Tucker was saying yesterday. How can that be oppression? How in the hell can that be oppression? That should be celebrated. But how would you feel if you had a person on the Supreme Court that looked like you? If they were appointed just by the color of their skin, I would feel pretty goddamn pissed off about it. I don't care about the white ones. If those white people on that Supreme Court was appointed because of the color of their skin, I would be pissed off. Because that's not why you support people. I mean, appoint. God, appoint people. You appoint them because they're intelligent, because they have a legal mind, because they're scholars of the law, and they're moral, and they have a good sense of grounding. You don't appoint somebody because of the color of their skin, and I hope it backfires. Look at old George W. Bush when he appointed old Roberts that's on the Supreme Court. That liberal son of a bitch. Supposed to be a conservative. I hope it backfires. I hope that they get one of those ladies, and I hope they appoint them, and they're just as conservative as any one of the conservatives on the Supreme Court. I'm telling you, man, it just irks me. But to give you a little sense, and I'm gonna break away to give you a little sense of what is what's going on here is this stuff has been going on since the 1654, since slavery began in the country. You've had black people on enslaved. So my point being is, where are you going to get your reparations? Are you going to get it from the black families that enslaved your family, or are you going to get it from the white person that you think that oppressed you? I'm not saying that people haven't experienced racism in this country, because they have. I live in Mississippi. Ground zero, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, ground zero for it back in the 60s, all the way up from the 40s to the 60s. I'm not saying that people have not experienced racism. There's just not any systemic racism going on today. And if you don't believe me, go to the bank and try to get a loan. They have minority loans. The SBA has them. There's especially if you're a minority black woman. There's your reparations right there. You get special treatment for it. Is it right? No, it's not right. Not in any sense of the word is it right. The point being is either we're going to be able to get rid of slavery, the systemic racist that's going on right now, black people. If you don't think there's racist black people, then you don't live in America. These people are pushing this critical race theory, and they pushing this ideology that equity is it. You can't have equal outcome and actually have equal opportunity at the same time, because some people are just damn lazy. They don't want to do anything, and so they're mediocre. I've had people in my family that were that way. They didn't want to do anything because it might interfere with some kind of check they were getting for some kind of disability they had. Even though they were good at something and could have made a lot of money, they didn't want to do that. They were comfortable where they were. So you can't have equal outcome just because you have equal. You just can't. Equity is not the way to go. Equal opportunity gives you the chance to buck up and do what you need to do to become who you need to become. Not equal outcome. There's no way to do that without being racist, because you're sitting here saying, okay, if the white guy or the black guy works really hard to build something, he's a good salesman, does whatever, he builds it, right? Great, he builds it. And then all of a sudden you got this other black guy and a white guy that's lazy as hell, and they don't do anything. You're supposed to get the equal pay to these people? You're supposed to equal outcome to these people when they didn't put near about the effort in there? Well, that's socialism 101 right there. And it's absolute bullshit. And folks, if you don't believe it, you just